We've spoken before on the channel about the alternate video game costumes that our favourite characters like to change into when they feel like letting their hair down. Or covering their hair with a jaunty sailor hat in an obvious thirst trap, Chris Redfield.
Maybe it's the weather, but I still can't make contact with HQ.
But as spring-summer turns into autumn-winter and fashions change, so too do video game outfits, and we've got a whole wardrobe full of new, weird fashion statements to ponder and to try coming up with a plausible explanation for. Here are 7 of our favourites. Enjoy and beware spoilers ahead for the following games, and also what everyone will be wearing come Paris Fashion Week.
Now, I know you didn't design the costumes for Final Fantasy 15, unless you're Tetsuya Nomura, in which case, hello, thanks for watching. Otherwise though, I know you didn't design the costumes for Final Fantasy 15, but maybe you can explain this nonsense to me, because I'm at a loss. Well, I don't need to remind you, potentially Tetsuya Nomura, that Final Fantasy 15 is an epic fantasy saga in which Prince Noctis and his boy band go on a road trip to save the Kingdom of Lucis.
I think we can forget about hitching our way there.
You would also think it behooves a crown prince like Noctis to comport himself with princely dignity. And though there are many definitions of dignity, none of them include strapping a giant novelty cup of noodles to your dome.
To claim your forebear's power is your birthright and duty as king.
My duty as king of what?
Final Fantasy XV's so-called noodle helmet was a bit of free downloadable content, and for what it's worth, wearing it increased Noctis's HP recovery rate, even though we never did see him slurp any of the life-giving noodles out of his protective headwear.
Then why didn't he tell me that? Why did he stand there smiling as I left? Why?
The real-world explanation for the existence of this bizarre noodly headwear is the product placement deal between the publisher of Final Fantasy and Japanese noodle brand Nissin.
I like cup noodles as much as anyone, but I think you might like them a little too much, big guy.
There's nothing else like them. They're easy to make whenever you've got a craving, and they're delicious to boot. I'll never forget my first time.
But the in-world explanation for Prince Noctis, who usually favours dark designer streetwear, shilling for an instant noodle product remains beyond the reach of rational explanation. Unless this is actually the crown traditionally worn by the ruler of Lucis?
The power of kings goes with you, your majesty.
Heavy is the head that wears the noodle hat. Heavy and delicious.
Oh boy, buckle up friends, because it's time for me to have some opinions about Spider-Man costumes.
Oh no! Stop him! Oh, the door's locked, I can't get in!
Every true Spider fan knows that Spidey's costume is as much a part of his character as having a dead uncle, or being a nerd, or the fact that his uncle died, which is presumably why developer Insomniac decided to make collecting new suits for the Wallcrawler a key part of your progression in the recent Marvel's Spider-Man for the PS4. What's less easy to explain is why they chose a succession of terrible costumes that no self-respecting Spider-Man would be seen dead in.
Perfect shot!
Seriously, the state of some of these, and don't even get me started on the default costume with the white spider on the chest is terrible, and the punk one with the... Back to the point of the video, under advisement from my legal representative, I would like to say that some of the alternate costumes available do reference some cool moments from Spidey's storied history in the comics. These include Ben Reilly's Scarlet Spider suit from the Clone Saga, or the bombastic Bagman outfit, which saw the web-slinger don a spare Fantastic Four uniform and a paper bag, after his symbiotic Black Venom suit was destroyed for being evil and from space. What's less easy to explain is the undies outfit, in which your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man is decked out in his mask, a pair of boxer briefs, and, well, nothing else, actually. That's the whole outfit. So many questions. What happened to the rest of your costume that didn't happen to your mask? Are those officially licensed Spider-Man boxer shorts you're wearing? Doesn't it get really cold in New York City? And it's not like this is an easy outfit to get your hands on. The undies suit is awarded when you 100% the game, which to me says that Spider-Man, having done everything else the game has to offer, can now only feel truly alive when he's swinging through New York nearly naked, the pervert. If J. Jonah Jameson sees this, he's going to have a field day. Although I guess who'd take the photos? Checkmate.
I am not very fond of conflict.
Come on! Let's turn up the heat!
Round one. Fight!
As Halloween has become a bigger and bigger deal, people are putting more and more effort into their Halloween outfits. Well, either that or just turning up as a sexy variant of a popular character. Just what? Yoga enthusiast and human rubber band Dhalsim from Street Fighter V is one of those people who's really gone the whole 9 yards with his Halloween costume, which is ironic considering how few clothes he bothers to wear the rest of the time. Must be difficult to find things in his size. Sizes. Download the additional costume called Halloween from the DLC store in Street Fighter V and you'll discover that Dhalsim's gone for a classic outfit from the Universal Studios horror movie archives, the bandage-covered Invisible Man.
Dhalsim, this is the path to achieve enlightenment.
What's more, the level of commitment is enormous in that he appears to have actually turned himself invisible.
I am not very fond of conflict.
Yep, that's a gaping hole where his chest should be, and his attacks are now the unravelling bandages wrapped around his transparent form. Then there's the fact that Dhalsim's eyes are now glowing red orbs hovering in the space where his skull used to be. I'd love to see the Halloween party he's going to, because this whole ensemble must have taken a lot of work to put together. But on the plus side, you can go next year as sexy Invisible Man and it'll be the exact same costume, because they're both invisible.
Nice. Fist bump. Seriously, come on. What, come on, everybody does it!
If you take out the zombies, the games in the Dead Rising series are basically dressing up simulators in which you run around a mall, trying on weird outfits and eating things off the floor. As such, you'd expect to find some pretty random stuff in there with which to attire your zombie-killing protagonist, but nowhere is the selection more varied or more poorly suited to actual zombie hunting than in the most recent game in the series, Dead Rising 4. The game's various shops and businesses have a whole bunch of stuff for you to mix and match to your heart's content, but if you want the really good stuff, you have to look to the game's Capcom Heroes costumes. These unlockable outfits are a wearable tour through the history of Capcom games and contain a collection worthy of any cosplay connoisseur, including a perfect Sissel from Ghost Trick, complete with improbable hair spike, and a Jill Valentine costume that feels less like a practical zombie killing outfit and more like an audition to jump ship to a more popular zombie franchise.
All right. A bit heavy, but I agree, I could do better.
I think the Resident Evil 3 remake has found its Jill.
God, I hate you.
If you want to talk full-on weird though, nothing beats the Amaterasu outfit that pays homage to the main character of 2006's Okami, who you may remember is a dog. A very majestic dog who is also a sun goddess, but neither of these qualities really transfer across to this outfit, which is less noble deity and more giving a keynote speech at a furry convention. Come on, Frank, Capcom's been around for years. There must be better suited characters for you to dress as.
All right.
I bought this on myself.
The circumstances under which it is fine to wake up wearing nothing but a satin sheet are: 1, you're in a perfume ad; 2, you own a satin sheet but no pyjamas; and 3, literally no other circumstances. So spare a thought for Fiona, the heroine of PlayStation 2 survival horror game Haunting Ground, whose day goes from bad to worse when she gets in a car crash, then wakes up in a castle dungeon, in a cage, in a satin sheet. So that's the bad news. In better news, our heroine Fiona meets a very good dog who becomes her sidekick.
Go now and Don't get caught this time.
In worse news, basically everything else that happens to Fiona in this game. At least Fiona does eventually get her hands on a dress. It might not be the Kevlar stab vest we were hoping for, but it is easier than running around in a sheet.
Wait a minute.
However, if you complete Haunting Ground and get ending C, you can trade up the default mini dress for the exceptionally silly frog suit outfit, which makes Fiona look like an off-brand theme park mascot. On the one hand, the adorable frog suit makes everything in this skin-crawling game 1000% less disturbing. On the other hand, it is very difficult to explain how this frog costume came to be found in this very remote, very old castle. Unless one of the castle occupants was into Kermit cosplay as well as torturing teenagers. Which actually makes everything 1000% more disturbing now that I think about it.
Yeah, I'm almost there. You know me, I'll be fine. Sounds good. I'll be back as soon as I find Chris.
The original Resident Evil 2, which came out in 1998, was scary for the time, but there's only so much terror you can conjure up when everyone is all square and blocky and voice acted by people who sound like they're under the influence of some fairly powerful sedatives.
By the time I noticed something was wrong, the entire city was infested with zombies.
This, of course, wasn't a problem for the recent Resident Evil 2 remake, which, through the power of today's consoles, ray tracing or something I expect, and modern advances in voice acting, was absolutely bloody terrifying.
Jesus Christ.
Someone really worked hard on those innards. If that's all too much for you, and to be honest, that's fair enough, Capcom added a couple of skins as free DLC for the game that took the beautiful, detailed, modern Claire and Leon and made them look just like they did back in the era of NSYNC, Furbies, and watchable Simpsons episodes.
Don't shoot! Get down!
So you can relax, because honestly, these guys don't look like they have enough polygons to have internal organs.
You alright?
Yeah, I think so. Thanks.
That being said, you could argue that having the classic 98 costumes applied actually makes Resident Evil 2 more scary, on account of how the main characters are now horrifying, weirdly jointed marionettes who for some reason have come to life and are lurching around a real-life town mimicking human beings. Leon is particularly worrying, with his curtains hanging in a single immobile chunk, a nose sharp enough to slice bread with, and a perpetual expression of mild disgust. Is that mild disgust? Fear? Is he hungry? I mean, probably not after all that innard stuff earlier. It's hard to tell.
Bayonetta, from Bayonetta, is a witch who famously fights wearing an outfit made entirely of her own hair. Given that I can barely get my hair to cover my own head, that's pretty impressive. There are considerable disadvantages to using your own hair for clothes though. It can't be that warm, it only comes in one colour, and you probably spend about 4 hours at the end of each day getting rid of the tangles. So in both Bayonetta 1 and 2, Bayo rather sensibly packed some alternative outfits, and because the second game was exclusive to the Wii U, a bunch of the sequel's unlockables are Nintendo themed. There's Princess Peach and Princess Daisy inspired dresses, and the option to wear Samus Aran's armour from Super Metroid. And yet we're still no more clear on what happens to the person inside when that thing turns into a ball. Probably the strangest of these outfits is called Star Mercenary, and selecting it has Bayonetta dressing as the anthropomorphic fox hero from Star Fox, Fox McCloud. That's a bit like me being called Human McChannel, but okay. Fans of the Star Fox series will immediately recognise the iconic green trousers and silver jacket, albeit stretched to accommodate a body shape that appears to be 90% legs and 10% everything else. There are loads of bizarre, over-the-top touches, like the fact that Bayonetta's pistols and heel guns become model R-wings, with little charms of each of the original Star Fox characters dangling from them. And the entire outfit is topped off with a cute fake foxtail and adorable ears. Unless those are real fur, in which case... Has anyone checked in on Fox McCloud recently?
Now it's time to be naughty.
All right, best Spider-Man costumes in order, right? The black cloth suit that he wears with the white spider that goes all the way around, I would say is number one. Ben Reilly's suit, where he's got the kind of the dark blue with the, oh, fine, all right, fine, yes, other videos probably you want to hear about those. Here's one, it's about repeated voice lines in games, it's from us. Down here is one from Outside Extra, which is about video game characters who are terrible actors. And hope you enjoyed this video. Anyway, right, so the Ben Reilly costume's really cool because it's got the contrasting on the fingers particularly. That's where you need to look on a Spider-Man costume. That's where the detail really comes through.